Hello, welcome to the Human Frequency. I've been having to look at the news a lot lately for weather reporting, and across the board, climate scientists are stumped at how fast weather is changing because of orgonite gifting. Of course, they can't talk about orgonite gifting. Maybe they don't know, or maybe they're just not allowed to, but they have no idea why it suddenly becomes so wet and humid and rainy across the United States during the summer, especially in the Southwest. Since Project Monsoon, which we did in June in Arizona, weather's changed quite a bit. And in fact, it's put quite a damper on the wildfire season. And we are going to talk about wildfires today because they are still a serious problem, even with the extra rain. We are still seeing abnormal amounts of wildfires. So while climate scientists might be baffled about why the weather has changed, we are baffled at why 2021 is the worst wildfire season the world has ever seen. This is a worldwide problem. And in order to try to understand this, we've had to put a lot of things together to ease our confusion on this, because we also live in a wildfire prone area. We've had a couple already this summer. One was fairly significant. It's fortunately out, but it is something that we've been thinking about a lot lately.
Yeah, it was the shell fire, and we did a more in-depth piece on this if you want to go back into our archive. But basically, the long and short of it is that we were driving home from urban Los Angeles, and we could see this fire smoke in the distance, and it was quite near us. I would say about 10 to 20 miles as the crow flies.
And from driving, we couldn't tell if it was right at our house or not.
But the interesting thing was we kept a very close eye on this, and the fire was out within about a day and a half later. There ceased to be any more smoke in the sky, yet the media kept dragging out this fire, saying that it was still going, when we were right by it and we could see quite plainly that it wasn't. So that was kind of our first little introduction into this idea of just objectively looking at what the media is saying and thinking to ourselves, well, this can't be right because we're seeing something completely different.
Yeah, not to diminish the scariness of these fires,
no,
and the damage that they do. Fortunately, the one here didn't get anybody's houses.
And certainly this is not the first time that we've been skeptical of the lines that the media is feeding us. So this is not anything new, but this got us to look at what's going on in sort of a different light.
And because they were reporting that it was as if it was still going. That's why we started to notice something's weird here. Now, I can't see what's going on in Northern California. I know that in Northern California, there's the Dixie Fire right now, which is supposed to be the largest fire in California's history. And it's huge when you look at the map, if that is accurate. But we don't know. There's been rain up there and they're not reporting on that at all. So we're really trying to put things together and figure out what's going on. But we figured this out, at least in our area, that the reporting did not match reality. So although the fire was scary to everybody here, it wasn't as bad as the media was making it sound. And people in other places thought we were still having a wildfire when we weren't. I mean, for days later. So I actually have a piece on the blog about this that you can look at. And we talked about this in the Project Monsoon update.
Yes, and we're going to give you a couple of examples of stories that follow this exact pattern. There's this terrible fire that the media is just reporting on. And of course, they're lumping in the climate change propaganda with that too, and the drought propaganda that they always do. But in both of these instances, we will see by looking at the maps that there's lots of rain moving through this area. And of course, the media is not reporting on any of it. So it's one of these things where you got to look at the evidence and go, what's going on here? This is not right. And you look at the news reports from around the world, and we're seeing fires in places that rarely have fires. They can go hundreds of years without having fires in some of these places. In remote Siberia, for instance, I think Yakutsk was the city.
The coldest city on earth is having wildfire problems. This doesn't make any sense.
So it was important with this shell fire experience of less than 2 months ago, fresh in our minds, to look at what the media is saying here and try and decipher things, because we're getting things that are very cryptic.
I'm first going to open up my blog and we'll just have a little weekend review here. So let's take a look here. So for the past week, this is a little over a week, we've been monitoring the situation here and around the state. And actually, we're starting to look into more what's going on around the country, because this wildfire problem isn't just in California. It is everywhere. I mean, in places where you wouldn't expect it. I will say that fortunately, Arizona and New Mexico do not seem to be having anything anymore this summer since Project Monsoon, because it's way too wet there to light any fires. What we have here, this was very interesting. On August 8th, there were a lot of articles coming out that said weekend of wildfire fears for California. So I was noting that they didn't say weekend of wildfires, they said weekend of wildfire fears. Meanwhile, we had this going on here, and we were seeing this smoke just pouring in into our area here, just pouring in out of nowhere on August 8th. And people were so concerned that our local paper actually reported on this and said, Kern County Fire says that this is not from anything nearby. Don't worry, this is from the fires up north. However, the fires up north, the Dixie Fire in particular, the biggest one, that's 450 miles from us. And the wind was in the wrong direction to bring the smoke here. And the smoke was just pouring in over the mountain. It was just coming in like it was nearby. And I can say this because last summer there was a fire in Lake Hughes, which is very nearby us, and it was similar to what we saw then. This is not like a haze coming in from far away. This is stuff coming right over the mountain. So we started to think about that a little bit. And why are they calling it the weekend of wildfire fears? I was looking up articles about it, and I just would like to point out this nice couple here in Northern California that is in their nice green field. There's wildfire smoke in the background, and they said they were going to stay behind and protect their animals because the man in the picture, Pete Neer, is a former firefighter, and he said, I'm not scared. These fires, they're never going to get me. And they stayed behind because, as you could see, there's no real way for their property to be burned down.
Yeah, green grass everywhere.
And I noticed that in a lot of the pictures from Northern California, and it's actually got me a little stumped myself as to how can they light such huge fires in places that are so green. So,
well, first of all, it's physically impossible for fire smoke to travel as far as they say and still maintain this degree of thickness. This was incredibly thick, and this fire, the Dixie Fire, is almost 500 miles to the north and slightly to the east. So not only is it not possible for it to travel that far, but fire smoke never will go against the wind. So right there, it's just so easy to take that explanation that they're giving and say, well, that's just not possible. So this is kind of the beginning of the wheels starting to turn. Something's also going on here.
If there was no fire nearby, then where was the smoke coming from? I started to think about this a little bit. They do this thing in our area called a prescribed burn. That's something that the U.S. Forest Service says is good for the forest for some reason. They will make a wildfire, but they do it in an area that is contained to where it doesn't spread, but they'll burn literally thousands of acres this way. So I was thinking perhaps it was a prescribed burn that was not being reported.
Because prescribed burns are not reported.
They don't have to. I mean, they can burn their own property down, right? They don't have to tell us, at least, as long as it's safe, right? As long as it doesn't go into the community. Then the next day, August 9th, smoke completely cleared overnight. So I just posted a picture of that. You could see the complete difference from one day to the next.
Yes. Was the fire taking a break? I mean, what?
Right. The Dixie Fire is still burning as well as all the other fires up north. So what happened? Where did the smoke go? So yeah, wheels are turning. And then on August 10th, I reported on the rain returning to Southern California and the Southwest. And this was just not fire related, but just to show that all around, even in Southern California, we were getting rain again.
But specifically Arizona and New Mexico, as you said earlier, just getting hammered by storm after storm.
And then on August 11th, it rained at our house, which was cool, except it happened while we were making tower busters outside. So
very stressful.
It was very stressful. You don't want rain getting on your new organizer.
No, I had to stand there with an umbrella over the curing pieces.
And as soon as we could move them, we moved them. So Yeah, this was a very cool day though.
But
And
happy to get the rain, of course.
here's a little rain map. Again, not very normal for Southern California in the summer. However, normal is changing now because of
Yes.
this project we've done, and we are going to continue to keep working on these things.
I'm glad you mentioned normal being changed, because it's not the way the media is saying. Surprise, surprise. But take it from me. I've lived in Southern California for the first 30 years of my 36-year lifespan, and I've never, ever experienced a summer this humid.
It's crazy humid. Every summer here, this is our sixth summer up here in Fraser Park. Every summer, my hands are like an 80-year-old's hands. They're dry, wrinkled, and cracked from the dry weather up here. It's so dry up here. This summer, they're smooth and soft, and I haven't even used any hand lotion. So something is different.
Clammy sometimes. I would describe the sensation as clammy. So something is definitely changing in the weather at large, at least in Southern California it is. And you can tell by looking at the maps that it's changing in a lot of other places too. We're getting reports from all over the country of changes, positive changes in weather patterns.
So this was exciting to me. On August 12th, there was rain in the Northern California wildfire areas. I've been using this map from CAL FIRE that shows where the fires are, and this is the Dixie Fire. It's really a huge fire. And there's others around different areas in the north, all to the north. Nothing's really going on to the south. There are currently 4 active fires of interest on CAL FIRE's website, and all the other incidents are closed. They say not an incident as of and a date.
So keep an eye on that red spot right there where Sharon
There's
pointed.
a few. There's boom,
but that big one.
Okay, now let's move on to the rain for that same day. So near the Dixie Fire, now I don't know if it rained all over it, but we do know that we've had wildfires put out by rain earlier in the month in California. In the wildfire area, we are seeing showers. So this can only help the firefighters, but they aren't reporting on it at all.
But especially this area right here, northeast of Chico, that's exactly where the Dixie Fire is going on. So once again, not being reported on by the media at all.
As well as the almost daily rains in the Sierra Nevada mountains this summer. They've been having monsoonal rains every day, and you hear nothing. I tried doing searches on this and I get nothing. So there's definitely selective reporting going on. I will say that Project Monsoon is doing its job, because we've already had several wildfires put out this summer where they've had to admit that rain put them out.
But are you starting to notice a pattern here? This is what happens as soon as rain comes through where the fires are. Oh, they love to report on the fires, but where's the mention of the rain?
So moving on to Arizona, I got some pretty cool stuff from Arizona, from Tucson local media. We learned that after Project Monsoon, July was not only the wettest July on record for Tucson. I have some little graphs here.
Wettest month
but the wettest month in history in Tucson at a whopping 8.06 inches. So that is very interesting. These are the top wettest in Tucson ever. Note that this is following Project Monsoon, July of 2021. Also, we worked up there in July of 2017. We worked in Las Vegas and did a thorough gridding there. That was a huge thing. That was a 4 black helicopters kind of job. That was the kind of thing where they're noticing. We had black helicopters in Phoenix too, by the way. They are noticing the energy shift. And that was a very wet year. And what happened in 1955, just outside of Tucson, that was the time period that Wilhelm Reich was doing his orgone operations in the desert outside of Tucson. So you could see orgone operations equal the heaviest rainfalls on record.
Yep, the top 3. And by the way, you heard us correctly, rainiest month ever of any month. That includes winter months too. So the fact that this is happening in July, right after this gifting, is very noteworthy. And Tucson is not very far from Phoenix, by the way.
We also have wettest monsoon starts in Tucson on record in 2021, 8.23 inches. They start measuring the monsoon from June 15th. So this is from June 15th through the end of July. Phenomenal. It's 2017 when we worked in Las Vegas. Again, huge rains. big starts to monsoon season. We did Las Vegas in July, early July 2017. And here are some really cool highlights from Tucson. Not only was it the wettest July ever recorded, but there were 3 days with 1.25 inches of rain consecutive.
Or more.
Or was it consecutive or just 3 days? 3 days.
3 days with at least 1.25 inches of rain.
The average high was 97.1 degrees, which is 3.1 degrees below average. And this is the consecutive days part here. First July ever to record back-to-back highs in the 70s. It was 77 high on July 24th and 79 on July 25th. So
if
we are
you've
seeing
ever
some.
spent time in Arizona, you will know that that is very anomalous.
I will tell you, not just anomalous. Listen to what this news report said. As far as another interesting record was set when Tucson recorded consecutive days at highs in the 70s. This never happened before July, as records continue to date back to late 1800s. So this is really proof, more proof of orgonite gifting doing its job.
This is real climate change, not what the media is telling you. It's the exact opposite.
But this is what's stumping the meteorologists and the climate scientists, because they do not understand weather at all. And all their predictions are based on computer models, based on past patterns and how what's happening now looks like something from the past. They don't actually look at what's happening energetically. They just say, well, this and that are happening. These effects of the energy changes are happening, but they don't acknowledge the energy change.
So let's see what's next here.
August 14th. We're almost done with my blog here. Energy battle. That was an energy battle that day. This was a very strange day. Note the atmosphere looks hazy, but this was not a wildfire smoke day. This was very hazy, very humid. And you see the clouds are trying to form. OR clouds are forming out of the DOR-ish haze. It's working on it. And we had this thick, humid sky. This is not a DOR sky.
No, and there are no fires burning. By the way, we check every morning to see if there are fires burning nearby, and the answer every morning was no. So
we checked CAL FIRE's website diligently, and we were seeing, as the afternoon and into the evening progressed, increasing OR clouds growing, but it was still this strange haze. By the end of the day, we had a complete DOR removal, crystal clear blue, and all the clouds had formed together. We did not have rain. However, there was rain around Southern California and nearby, and throughout the Southwest. So this is what's been going on. There's been a lot of rain. Here's my little, I love this. This is a picture from Yahoo News. Climate experts stumped by how fast weather is changing. I love that. When I clicked on the article, it had a different title, so I just kept that. But our hypothesis is that a lot of what's going on right now with the wildfires is that they are actually being set. And to my most recent article, I'll scroll to the top here. This is what the sky looked like. August 16th, yesterday morning, I woke up at 6 a.m. and I smelled smoke. And I looked outside and it was dismal. This is what it looked like. It was smoke from a very nearby fire. There's no way this was coming from up north. I could smell it. It was fresh. It came from the west over the mountains. And this is, again, while we're starting to think about what's really going on here. As far as that day goes, there was a little rain in the Sierras, no fires down here, none. So everything was still up north. This was from that same day, nothing going on here. What was the smoke coming from? The wind was bringing it from the west, not from up here. We are, where would you say, point to where we are here?
I'd say we're about there.
Okay.
Just in Kern County,
and
near where the other two counties meet.
With the western wind blowing, there's no way that that would come in. Even with the wind changing directions on us, we had an air quality alert, and in the air quality alert, it said that the smoke was from Northern California and other fires in more nearby counties, including our own county of Kern. So that means there were fires in Kern County, but none of them were on the wildfire list.
Other fires, not other wildfires.
Not other wildfires.
It's very important, and we're going to be dissecting this in a moment, to look at the language that the media is using, because they don't say anything by accident. It's very important to deconstruct the words that they use when they're describing the fires. And it's also important to use that in order to understand what's really being said.
And I want to show you what a prescribed burn looks like. I have a couple of pictures here. A prescribed burn by U.S. Forest Service looks exactly the same as a wildfire. And I know they do them here because I've seen the signs on the side of the road that say prescribed burn. This summer, I haven't seen any of the signs. However, we know they do this. I have a link to the Forest Service website here. There's an article and you can look at this too. Let's see if it works. I've been having a little issue tonight with some of these, especially weather websites are not working well tonight. Here we go. So if you go to the U.S. Forest Service website, you can learn about prescribed burns. This is for Los Padres National Forest, which is where we live. And they explain how it works, why they do it. I don't buy into it that it's good for the land. They do claim that it's good for the land and that it reduces wildfire risk to do this. But what they're doing is they're creating wildfires, and there are many pictures of them here. And as you can see, they're the same as a wildfire, except that they have a containment around them so that they don't spread.
It's pre-contained.
But if you look,
there's no chance of it going out of control.
As you look at these, they look exactly the same. The news could take any one of these pictures and use it for wildfire footage. Here's one burning. There's a couple more that have already been done here. So they're doing massive areas of this. And in fact, let me find the one where it says the size that they burned. It's kind of sad. I feel sad when I look at this because this is so unnecessary. At the end here, I know it tells you the size of these fires. Here we go. Burn prescription weather was only available for a few days, allowing treatment, okay, treatment they call it, of about 2,600 acres. Can you imagine 2,600 acres? The wildfire in our area, shell fire, was less than that. And that was an honest to goodness wildfire, and it polluted the atmosphere, and they're burning even areas bigger than that.
And again, they don't have to announce when they're doing this. So it's very easy to see something like that. And the media will use that to say, oh, it's smoke coming hundreds of miles from this out of control fire. And of course, they're also saying that this fire is going 3,000 miles to New York City.
They are.
That is that's even more absurd. Do I even need to say anything about that?
No, and
it doesn't matter if it's going with the wind. Fire smoke does not travel 3,000 miles. It just doesn't do that.
And we still don't know what's really going on with the fires in Northern California because they only report on containment. This is part of how they use language to confuse us. They do not let us know when a fire is extinguished. On CAL FIRE's website, they only say not an incident as of. They do not tell us when it's extinguished, but I can tell you that out of the 4 big wildfires that I saw listed on CAL FIRE's site, 3 out of 4 of them, they've lifted evacuation orders. The Dixie Fire still remains.
This is
another
one.
The
next biggest one that's in California.
The Caldor Fire. And I've pulled this up because I want to go over a little bit about the language that they use in regards to fires. The Caldor Fire was ignited Saturday evening in the Omo Ranch area. It was ignited on Saturday evening. That says somebody lit this fire. I mean, I know you can try to wrap your head around it a different way and say, oh, it just means it happened.
It began.
But it ignited.
If they were going to say it began, they would say that. They would. You have to look at the choice of words used. You're going to see more of this. Very, very, very interesting. And also the fire it started at night.
They all start at night.
Ours here, this prescribed burn, also started at night.
In the wee hours of the morning. And I will say, I don't know exactly what's been going on, but I can say this. There have been a lot of headlights on the mountain high up in the last 3 days before the fire. And I can only guess that perhaps they were going up there to prepare the area because we don't see a lot of headlights way up there on these dirt roads on these mountains. This is very remote areas where these guys are up there. But I saw headlights on the mountain 3 nights in a row. That's very odd. To see it even once is weird, but 3 nights in a row is odd. And they do start them at night. Here in this article, it says night firefighting and challenging terrain made accessing the fire difficult. The fire burned very actively throughout the night. So we are looking at fires that are started at night. Every fire on CAL FIRE's website, maybe they don't know when they started, but every single one lists midnight as a starting time.
And by the way, the media loves to just blame it all on dry lightning strikes. That's simply not the case. This is Northern California is not the desert. That is a strictly desert thing. These are not dry lightning strikes. This is arson. This is deliberately set fires and being set at night.
Not only is California dealing with wildfires, I saw there was one near Athens, Greece. They're all over the world. It's astonishing how many places are burning up. They tell us it's because of climate change. I just cannot logically see how a 90-degree summer day makes plants burst into flames. And even if it was a degree warmer and it became 91 degrees, which is what they're all freaked out about, is a degree warmer, it will not ignite plants. British Columbia, this is the most green, beautiful place on earth. I've never seen anywhere in this continent greener than British Columbia. And I do not know how they're lighting so many fires there, but they are. However, there is a lot of rain coming through. And even on the news reports on wildfires, you're seeing people standing in places that have recently had rain. We're seeing drenching rains. So there is hope for British Columbia because rain is on the way.
So let's scroll down and you'll see another example of some of the same language that's being used. If I can find it, it says
it's a little lower down. I'm going to go down to this photo here.
The picture.
There's a couple here. A couple looks at the newly ignited Mount Law wildfire. So there you go. They have other ways of saying this too. They said, let's see, have been sparked since April 1st. More than 1,500 wildfires have been sparked throughout BC. How can there be 1,500 wildfires in British Columbia? This is an emerald green, wet, dripping, mossy forest. It's absolutely beautiful and green. I can't wrap my head around that other than that they're lying, especially because I've been looking at the rain. Now it's not raining constantly. And what I see them doing is they're getting these fires in between rains because rain is coming to British Columbia. In fact, I'm going to just open up my little precipitation map here. These things have not been working well, but so I'm just going to show you right here before I click on it in case it doesn't work. British Columbia in the next 7 days will be inundated with rain. These maps have not been working well tonight. The weather websites are trying to shut us out. It's not working, but you can see that rain is on the way to British Columbia. And even in these reports, they say it's coming, although they do say it's not going to help.
And they say something else here.
Tourism is discouraged. They don't want anyone going near it either to see what's happening.
Yeah, because maybe they'll see something they're not supposed to see, whatever that might be. But also another thing they're doing constantly is they're just reporting on containment. They're not saying, oh, the fire was extinguished or it's about to be extinguished. No, they're only talking about it in terms of containment. Well, that could drag on for a really long time to dig a big ditch, in essence, around a fire. And that's what happened locally with the Shell fire. They were only reporting on containment when we could see that after a day and a half, 2 days max, this fire was out.
So a cold front moved through BC on Monday, and that brought rain and cooler temperatures. And here it says the rain was enough to lessen the activity of some of the most active wildfires in the region overnight on Tuesday. However, BC Wildfire Service said the impacts might be short-lived. They have to say, well, they went out, but it will get more fires. Rest assured, we will light more fires.
Yeah.
Might be short-lived as deeper layers in the ground are still dry. So Environment Canada is predicting more showers in Kamloops and Kelowna this weekend. Thank goodness, because that was very disturbing to see this happening even in Canada. So there's other places too.
Yeah, in Utah, the Parley's Canyon fire, there's a red flag warning.
This is near Salt Lake City, and this wildfire broke out in a park, Parley's Canyon. And this is very interesting though. This is going to end soon, if it hasn't already ended. Not only temperatures tumble on Wednesday, it's tomorrow, but there's even a possibility of snow at the highest elevations. Wow.
Snow in August.
You got to look at the facts and don't let them scare you. it is scary that they're lighting fires. I've been a little scared all summer, I have to admit that, because we live in a wildfire prone area. But we have faith in God. What can I say? We also have an evacuation plan. So if it does come down to it, we're ready to go, and we'll lose our stuff, and that's fine. I don't care.
This is an interesting little graphic here. There's a lot of different things being said.
Besides the wrong date here, by the way, they mean August 7th. They mean August 17th.
So lightning, especially hazardous after a very dry 2-week period. Well, actually, we've been looking at the maps and it hasn't been very dry. It hasn't been extremely wet either, but there's no grounds for saying very dry.
But it was extremely wet before that 2-week period, however. So, we had a lot of monsoonal rains going through the entire state of Utah.
I've talked about this before on the show. This is called cherry picking. You have to read between the lines here and understand that they're using certain words to program a certain image in your mind.
And what I found interesting about this is we're going to just jump to the next tab so you can compare. This is what they're saying. Very dry, relative humidity as low as 10%. And they're also talking about thunderstorm outflows creating erratic gusts of wind. But they didn't say rain. But when you look at the actual weather report for Salt Lake City, which is right near this fire, it's currently raining and 65. There will be temperatures in the 60s for the next 2 days. That is astonishingly low for this time of year with thunderstorms. 70% chance of rain tomorrow. And by the way, that is almost 100% because the weather reporting will always underplay the percent of rain. We know this for a fact because once it gets up to a certain amount, they've got to put this little rain emblem here. So in our area, they'll keep it below the amount to not have to do that if they can. And if there's 100% chance of rain, they'll say something like this, like 70%. So we do have rain in Salt Lake to contrast the red flag warning here. So this is very, very good news for Utah. And I just want to see if there's anything else I want to go over in this article. I think that that's mostly what I wanted to talk about was the snow and the amazing rain that's coming to Utah. And I do have an error on my map, of course. Yeah. They're not. I will bring up one that I had brought up earlier. This is, let's look at Tuesday, Wednesday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Utah is getting rain. Not the entire state, but the Parasitic fire area is getting rain. British Columbia getting a little bit. We'd like to see some more rain there. They will be getting more rain.
The fact that they're getting any at this time of year is really incredible. This should be being talked about by everyone, but it's not. But this amount of rain in British Columbia in August is really something.
Here's another one to see what's happening in Utah the next day. We are still waiting for rain in BC. I can't pull up any more maps right now because the weather site's not working, but I did look at the outlook and the rain is coming. The news report did say it's coming. So I have been able to confirm that with the map that they're going to get rain. Utah is going to get completely inundated, the entire state, with pretty high amount of rain. So there should be no more wildfire danger there. That is very good news. And incidentally, we got a little bit coming into LA. That says Wednesday and Thursday. So let's see what happens there. So yeah, that's what's going on in Utah.
And there's the forecast. And
check this out. This is another one from Utah. I want you to check out the language since we have to look at what they're saying here. Major weather changes targeting Utah. Why would they use the word targeting when these weather changes are positive and are putting out wildfires? It's targeting, it's a term of war, of fighting. So they're saying that this is bad for the parasites, bad for them. We are targeting Utah with rain.
By the georestoration that takes place when orgonite is gifted to DOR sources, that's what then that enables these storms to come through. Storms that have been suppressed and blocked our whole lives, even longer, are finally allowed to come through. That's what's targeting them. It's very interesting to deconstruct the language being used. Mm-hmm. And our hypothesis that these fires are being set by way of arson, not by dry lightning, not by felled power poles from utility companies, I think we will start to see as the rain increases, and the rain should also increase in the wintertime and in the following summertime.
They are predicting that
Only
already.
more rain. Yeah.
I mean, they know what we've done. They are
What-
already.
What I'm saying is only more rain can come from this. So time will tell what happens with their fire lighting campaign going forward. They already received an unexpected surprise in June. They had plans to light who knows how much of the country on fire, and those plans were thwarted when we did Project Monsoon, and they suddenly the amount of available terrain that they had to light on fire suddenly was reduced drastically.
Yeah, they had already started in Arizona. When we got there, there was wildfires going in Arizona while we were there. If you look at the Project Monsoon video, you can see that they were put out by this project. It happened right there as we were working.
So if you look at these events as a whole, it makes sense. You can see that they're scrambling to figure out where they can light on fire in between rains, and that's just what they're doing now. And like you said, we're not trying to downplay the scariness of the way it is,
or the tragedy of losing your home or having somebody die from these wildfires, because this is criminal activity is what this is.
Nothing could be further from the truth. This is very, very serious. But what we're trying to say is you have to look at what the media is saying, especially regarding these fires, and just understand that, you know, the COVID hysteria is kind of dying down. Yeah, they're trying to keep it going with this silly variant thing, but in reality, we're 18 months into this. It is old news, and they have to get food in some other way, and the only way they can get food is by generating fear in the people. And what better way to do it than through fears of wildfires? And what better time to do it than in the middle of summer
when there's less rain? And what we were showing you about Salt Lake City and Utah in general is there was a dry period for 2 weeks. That's what they were saying. Maybe it didn't rain very much in those 2 weeks. I can tell you it did rain in places in Utah during those 2 weeks. I have maps that show that. But what they were doing was, as soon as those big rains stopped that came through the state, and in between the period of time between that rain and this next big rain that's coming, they said, well, we better get to work. And that's what they're doing in British Columbia as well. It's very obvious.
So take what you can from the news reporting. There's no substitute for using your own senses and seeing for yourself. Check the wind direction. Which way is it blowing? Ask the U.S. Forest Service if they're doing prescribed burns near you, or if anyone else is doing a similar thing. And as crazy as it might sound, look at the outside and see, is it raining?
Yeah. The fire here, the Shell fire, it poured rain 2 days after that fire started. I mean, a downpour. It started on the 27th of June, June 29th, we had a downpour. So it wasn't going anymore. But of course, the news didn't say anything about that. And in fact, our local paper had to prod for information, probably because too many people were contacting them saying, what's going on with this fire? We know somebody who literally kept her children home from school out of fears that they wouldn't be able to get home, that lived near the wildfire area. And this was done after the fire was already out because she couldn't see it from her house. It was around the hill. And so she didn't know. And they're saying one thing, and she doesn't want to play it. She wanted to play it safe. But this is what they're doing. And we live here, so we were able to see with our own eyes.
And they're taking it to the nth degree. This is a serious problem, especially for us, because we're trying to get accurate statistics on what's going on with the weather. But we are literally getting to a point where everything, and I mean everything, the media is saying is a lie.
Yeah, it's very frustrating.
Even something as simple as temperatures. We've known for years that they've been exaggerating temperatures, and with high humidity in Southern California, it feels a lot hotter than it actually is. You better believe me, the media is taking full advantage of that fact to just bump it up.
Yeah, you know, when it feels like it's hotter, so maybe it's 85 degrees, but it feels like 95 because it's humid. But we're not used to that in California. We've never had humidity. So I can tell you, it feels horrible to us that are not used to this. It's excruciating. I don't know how people live on the East Coast with it, but you're used to it. We're not. And it feels way worse than it is. And to the question that I get about, well, why does my thermometer say it's 115 degrees? We have had a lot of problems with our thermometers. I could tell you that when we were trying to make tower busters outside on a cooler day, we needed it to be over 60. The thermometer said it was over 60 and we went ahead with our project. Well, sure enough, it was in the 50s and we had to get the hair dryer.
The resin was
It
not
no.
catalyzing.
So the thermometer is not right. Our outdoor thermometer is not correct. And the hotter it gets, the more out of whack it is. And the car thermometer, those are
That's a
the
whole
worst.
other story.
They measure radiant heat off of the pavement. So they're not reliable. And of course, would you think that Toyota and all these car companies wouldn't be in on it? Do you think they wouldn't be in on the global warming lies? And by the way, global warming is not a pretend thing, but it's not happening now. Global warming can happen and does happen, but when you gift orgonite, you stop it from happening in its tracks, because warming is relative to DOR, cooling is relative to OR. They won't tell us that either. They say warming is relative to carbon. This is nonsense. This is a carbon-based world. They are silicon-based, the AI that are running the show, that are doing the weather programming, that are using their computer models to tell us what the weather is. They're all artificial intelligence and they hate carbon. So don't buy into that. But I will tell you that global warming is not a pretend thing. It is a real thing, but it's not happening now.
And it can always be counteracted. That's, I think, at the heart of the message that we share on this channel is that if you gift even just a little bit of orgonite in your town, you are helping to make such a huge difference. It doesn't take many people at all to tip the scales in favor of us, of the planet.
Yeah, you can gift your local towers. You can make orgonite. You can follow our video. You can get orgonite from us. We do offer discounts. If you're a gifter, you'll see that the more you get, the cheaper they are, because we want you to gift. So if you don't like making them, you don't like working with resin, you can get them from us. You can also definitely make your own though, and just go crazy with it. Get all the towers in your town. We have information on our website on how to effectively gift and to maximize your results so that you can save money too, because it gets expensive buying resin. So by using these techniques, you can get a few towers with one piece. You should really focus on the cell towers because that's the weather control. It's also mind control, but we're really talking about weather today. And if you want to flip that DOR and create this nice OR-ish environment, you're going to create OR generators all over your town. You'll have cooler weather, you'll have rainfall, and way less fire danger.
The cell towers, those are the parasite's Achilles heel.
And what we did,
take it from us. We've gifted almost 7,000 tower busters in 7 years time. We know what it does to them.
It's amazing. And what happened in Phoenix and in Arizona, what we did in June, the impacts were huge and they were immediate because we really went ballistic on them, really. So we really highly encourage you to make and gift orgonite.
Thank you so much for listening. Our website is www.thekembo.com. Please check out all of the links and all of the information that we have to share. We just recently migrated to both BitChute and to Odyssey. That's ODYSEE.com. Just alternate platforms for us to put our videos on, just because YouTube is really starting to crack down with their censorship motif that they're going with right now, mostly for health related stuff, not so much for videos dealing on orgone energy, but definitely health right now is very much under attack. Who'd have thought? Health.
And our prayers go out to everyone who's suffering from wildfires. May the force be with you. And I mean the OR, because
the life force.
I really pray for you and that you'll be safe, and that when this is over, please give some orgonite. Let's stop these fires.
Thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for your support. We will see you again next time.